Hello, everybody. Thank you one more time for tuning in to Five Stars Realty podcast. This is Camila, your social media coach. And today I have the pleasure, the honor to interview my dear friend, a very top producer here in Connecticut, a powerhouse, Laura Beth Collinson. There we go, Laura. Welcome, aka LB.
Woo, LB. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have, just so you know, guys, we have a nickname. We call each other Beba.
Beba, Beba. Hello, Beba.
Hello, Beba. Welcome. So, you've been my friend for so many years.
Yes.
And we kind of like always get back together.
Yes.
Out of nowhere.
We're the friends that leave, with nothing changes, right? You can not talk to each other for a year or 6 months, kind of check-ins, and then the minute we get together, everything is just right where it left off. And we have the same energy. We meet each other in the same space. And we're always meeting in a place of empowerment and transition. Always.
That's right.
We always align there.
She is my spiritual sister. And this last time that we met was a couple weeks ago, not even, right? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
We're doing better.
Yeah, we're doing better. This is huge. This is like progress, some consistency here.
Sometimes we see each other once a year.
Yeah.
But here we are. And the last time we had dinner, you had talked to me how much you have grown your business in real estate. So I want you, because you are a true inspiration to me, and I know that your story is going to bring to everyone else who's just starting a good motivation to keep going.
Right.
Because it's not an easy industry.
Yes.
Real estate is not easy. The market, it's bananas. But somehow you maintain it for what now, 7, 8 years?
Yeah, this will be my 8th year in real estate. Yeah.
8th year.
Yeah.
So, Beba, how do you start? What were your beginnings? What made you go into real estate?
Yeah, well, great question. And I've always had a passion for it, right? I always, I kind of came from a very, very average to low income kind of family. And I always had a dream like, okay, I want to own a house one day. Like that's something that would maybe have some success to it, like some sort of like standard where I'm like,
big
wow.
accomplishment.
Exactly. Yeah. And just, we move and apartments and all of these things and having a grounding space and some place that's where you live and that's your sanctuary was always important. So I said, okay, coming from the restaurant industry where I waitressed for many years, opened many restaurants. It's a very client service based business, very adrenaline based, where you're like, go, which I'm high energy if you can't already tell. And you know what I mean? Like that's who I am, like ding, 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 and this business definitely requires that. And so I've always worked nights and weekends my whole life. So the transition for me personally wasn't very difficult in the sense that when you work in the restaurant industry, it can be a very intense business. It can be a little degrading at times. You have to have a very good emotional wall and
always
sphere.
Be happy, always high
Yes, and not take things too personally, not take things too hard. So I had built a tough skin, I think, anyway, but I had always just had a desire to go into it. And I said, you know what, like houses would be something I love looking at houses, all of that kind of thing. So I think the desire was just in the regard of like, one day I want to own. I think this is a skill set that I've acquired, and let's see what I can do. And I learned the business, for a while, right? I had children. When I was a stay-at-home mom, I learned the business, and it was something that I had the ability or the moment to not have so much pressure financially, so I didn't have to work 2 jobs. I think that's the transition that can be difficult to go from a business where you're getting a paycheck to a commission-based business in sales, because you do need time to build your pipeline. So I would say too to people that are starting, like most people have to work 2 jobs. I just had that opportunity, and I worked really, really hard while having children, but at the same time, I didn't have like the financial pressure as much as people do. So I think with, not to get discouraged, right? But even in that, with not having another job, I mean, having kids is another job for sure. It took me 2 years to really understand the business and produce anything that was more than $20,000 a year. So I think sometimes people's expectations are, okay, in 6 months.
They want it right away.
In 6 months, I'm going to make 6 figures. No. Do you know what I mean? And it's not because you can't. It's not because that doesn't happen. It's not like there's not agents that have done that. I just think being realistic with what this industry demands in a skill set and an availability, right? I think that's the thing that people kind of miss too, is they're like, oh, I'm available nights and weekends to show houses. It's like, I work every day, 12 hours a day, except when I go on vacation, and I work on vacation as well, but I don't go on appointments. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, it's a lifestyle business, and that's not for everyone. But a high producer, it has to be. I haven't met a high producer where it's not their life.
Yes, and it's pretty much you have to take it everywhere, because
everywhere. It's who you are.
Their clients is there. A minute you don't pay attention to that customer and that client, it's boom, somebody else is going to take it.
I mean, it's a very competitive industry, right? So we are in the industry of availability. That's not to say that, like, as a real estate agent, it can be whatever you want it to be. If you want to just do 5 or 6 transactions and make an extra 30 or 40 grand, that's great. So I think really understanding what is the vision for your real estate industry, what do you want to be as a realtor, and setting realistic expectations. I think people come into our industry being like, well, I'm going to make 6 figures and I'm going to close 50 deals. And it's like, okay, but do you have the life that supports that? Because it really does need to be your life, And so I just think it can be whatever you want it to be, but it's important to know that.
Everything it drives you first to be like, I want to have my own home.
Yeah.
It started up as a desire of having her own house.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You built little by little, because I did remember I met you already had your license, but it wasn't active, and you were figuring out. We met at a hospital. We worked accounts receivable, accounts payable at Middlesex Hospital.
Yeah.
And you already had your license then.
You're right. And I was working, so I was working 9 to 5 for health insurance, because that was like, and then I was working the restaurant at night. Remember, I was working 2
Red
jobs.
Fox. Shout out to your friends.
Red Fox. We opened that. Woo! Red Fox. Go see it. I think they're Middletown, Meriden. I mean, they're expanding. They're everywhere. Ficho, Zumra, Taco John's. We should tag that.
This is what happens when 2 friends are doing a podcast, man.
Love them. They're such a great family, and their restaurants are incredible. Their food is incredible, but yeah, so I was working nights at the restaurant, and I couldn't make the jump. I I was still living paycheck to paycheck with the restaurants and Middlesex, working 2 jobs, and I couldn't make the commission jump. I really could not.
And the restaurant was good money, because it's a high-end place. It was not like a regular social restaurant.
Right.
And that is very interesting. You didn't have your kids then.
I was still working.
You didn't have your kids then. You were by yourself, and having 2 jobs, my people, and still was not giving her the lifestyle she desired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And look at you a couple of years later.
I know.
Quite a few years later. I say couple, but
yeah. But what was really great
quite a
is
few
when I
years.
was able to pivot into focusing on the business full time, right? Like when COVID happened, we had shut down a business, and we were like, okay, like I became the provider. It was like, okay, you have this opportunity, right? I'm going to come home as a stay-at-home dad, and you have 6 months to see. Let's see what you can do.
How many babies
just went,
you have?
whoo, what?
How many babies do you
I have 2 babies. So I have one that's going to be 7, Quinlan, at the end of this month. She's my Taurus baby. She is my spirit challenger, and she reminds me how much she just is like so loving and meets me in my heart.
You.
She is, and she is like, I tell her she has to own her. You have to be a CEO. Like you have to run your own company.
Oh, she will.
Like she is like
she has a powerful like, mama. Hello.
And then Matthew, my baby, he just turned 5, and he's just, he just heals my heart.
Not that I don't know how many kids she has. Of course I know. I just want you. Listen. You being a mother.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
You were a wife.
No, I'm never married, but I would not.
I'm sorry.
I would like to get that straight for the record, okay?
Being in a relationship.
I'm a wife.
Hey, she's single. Just kidding.
Prenup. No,
I don't know. But being a mom, full time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Having to take care of. So you bought the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She bought the house.
Yeah.
All right, let me backtrack a little bit. I'm going too fast. You get me too hyped up, man.
I know.
I got to lower on that caffeine right now. Because I want women in general to see her transition. So we were working at Middlesex Hospital.
Yes.
You were doing the restaurants. I was doing the restaurants too.
Right.
I remember, or the car
and cars.
dealerships
You were doing
and
a
cars.
lot as well. Yes.
And then you said, that's it. When do you said, I need my life to change, and I'm going to take real estate serious.
Well, I think this is the thing, right? I think this is really important to mention is that like the only people that I had in my life as women were stay-at-home moms. Those were the examples in my life. So my biggest dream in life as a 30-year-old was to be a stay-at-home mom. And I think it's important. That was the only dream I ever had. And then I had 2 children. I had 2 under 2. And I was happy there, but I was not fulfilled. I'm a very extroverted person. It was a challenge for me.
Yeah, go
you
get
know,
her.
and so I had to cash in that dream, the stay-at-home mom dream. That wasn't the right vision. Even though that was a societal projection of what I thought I wanted, it was really important for me to sit there and say, you know what, this doesn't fulfill me, and I'm not connected here, and I don't feel my most vibrant self. And I think it's a courageous decision to do that self-reflection and be like, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be what I thought I was going to be. What do I want? And I started to ask those questions as a stay-at-home mom, and started to work my business and learn my business. And I would do trainings, and I had availability, which people do have even working, you know, full-time jobs at night. If you're going to build something, I don't care what it is, you're working double time. You are building that business just as much, if not more, than your full-time position.
That's going to be the sneak peek, please, for this podcast.
You know, like
Absolutely.
you have to work till midnight. I still work till midnight every day.
I know.
But you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, like, in order to launch something, like, I think that people don't understand the amount of background time it requires.
And how much you want it.
Yes.
If you really want it, don't matter. You're going to make it happen.
Yes.
I know. I seen you doing social media posts at 2 a.m.
I know. I'm like, here we go.
Here, you up? Yeah, I'm up.
Can I get that timed thing? Like, can I get the thing where you can, like, time it for the clients? Because I'm like, I can't send them a message at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
They're going to think I'm crazy.
Only you.
Yeah, only me, because it's like, that's your, you know? But so yeah.
So you say, okay, if you really want this, first of all, it took you 2 years to see some progress, right?
Yeah. And to learn the business, learn the industry.
To learn the industry, 2 years.
Yeah.
We're not talking about 3 weeks, 1 month course. This is a 2-year hands-on.
To see the results that were worth to really make that jump where it's like, okay, this is something I could really take off, you know? And that's what I think is, I don't think people give it a full shot because it usually is an addition to their life, right? So it's a sideline. And if you really, and maybe that's not your vision. Maybe you want your real estate career to be your sideline. It's a great sideline. It's a great addition to a regular thing. But if you do want to make it your full-time career, then I do think that it does, you need to give it everything for 2 years and work it and be it and interact at the level. Like, there is no one that comes in conversation with me anywhere, I don't care if it's a gas station or anything, that doesn't know I'm a real estate agent. Every single people. It's just the truth. Every single person.
Market yourself.
That's
Market
it.
yourself.
I live, eat, and breathe real estate.
Wow.
That's it. That's who I am.
I get goosebumps by hearing
You know?
Let me ask you, so when do you said, okay, I can leave these 2 jobs? By the 2-year mark or before that?
I mean, my situation was a little different, right? Because then I went to have children. So in that place, right, we were basically a 1-income family with my bonus, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, we made that choice when things changed in our business that we were running that was separate. It was a butcher shop.
I remember, yeah.
Right? And then we made the choice like, okay, this business isn't really working. You know, we have this amount of time. I think it was like 90 days. It was a summer. Do you want to go into real estate full time? And I said yes. And I went from 0 to 100 to the number 1 in my company in 6 months.
Wow.
As you know, like, and that was
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months, and I've been the number 1 in my company.
Give them
since
shout
then.
out to your broker right now.
Carl Gild and Associates. Carl is a business mentor. He is an incredible human being. Anything I've ever said, like, hey, this is my vision, he said, okay, let's support it. He runs an agency where we're based in community. We do a lot of volume, but like most importantly, like, you know, you feel like a part of the agency. And like, we were talking about that with the broker of this agency where it's like, it doesn't have to be cutthroat. Like my broker always says there's enough houses for everyone. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to be like, you know, because the thing is when I, as an agent, get in a space where I'm being combative in a transaction, I have made that transaction about me. This is not about me. This is about the client accomplishing the goal. My buyer wants to buy your house. Your seller wants to sell the house. That's what we're doing. I need to be an advisor and a professional and an expert in my industry to make sure that I'm not taking anything personal in the negotiation. And Carl has taught me a lot in that regard, in my emotional, well-being.
You've been with Carl for the
forever,
8 years,
since
right?
the beginning.
Since
He started.
Wow.
I've been part of that brokerage.
I think it's very important. Anything we do that we
Yeah.
stay, so it
Yes.
grows.
Yes.
Because when you start jumping from one place to another, right? I think you need to create momentum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you did it. I think you
Yeah.
did it. And for being 0 to 1 in 6 months,
Yeah.
you really wanted this.
Yeah. As a buyer's agent in a seller's market too. So I launched in 2020 really right into my full-time part of my career.
2020, wow.
You know what I mean? In that COVID
Right at the beginning
break.
of COVID.
Right, exactly. So I was there in the industry for two and a half years prior, right? When I was probably even more than that because I was licensed when I met you. But I was actively in my business for 2 years. Then COVID happened. We closed down our shop because it just made sense.
Yeah.
People weren't coming into the store. Like we had to change our entire business plan, and it just made sense to sell our shop.
Wow.
But so what's really important is if you look at like what I close, I grew my career as a buyer's agent up against 68 bids, winning bids, finding these expert strategies against a seller's market, where as a listing agent, you were killing it. Right. But I was a buyer's agent. So like in the beginning, I'm now both, and I listed houses then, but I primarily focused on getting, because that was my network. My network at 34, they were buying houses. You know what I mean? So I was focusing on who was around me and my skill set. My skill set is high energy, go getter, let's do it. What can I do to win it? We're going to close it. I'm an adrenaline based human being sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
and you have to.
You have to be.
You
and
have
so,
to. During COVID.
Yes.
Why buyer? Why do you start just as a buyer? Is there something, guys? I'm just learning all the descriptions
of
here.
Of course.
So why were you so interested in being a buyer agent?
So whenever you go through like trainings in agencies or just agent, people are like, be a listing agent. And that's great. Being a listing agent is awesome. You could list 50 houses, and the labor that it takes to list 50 houses is far different than the labor it takes running a buyer around the state for 90 days. I mean, our average, so before COVID, our average showing houses were like, you would go out maybe 2 days, show 10 houses. You could kind of negotiate those houses.
2 days, 10 houses.
Right? So that was your average, right? You show a buyer 10 houses. You probably don't lose a bid. Maybe you lose one. That's what the market was before 2020.
Right.
You could underbid. You could negotiate. Then we went past 2020, and we're talking about 30 houses, 50 houses that you're showing your clients. You're losing 8 bids on average to win a bid. So it's extremely labor intensive, but it also allowed me to perfect strategies where my closing rate is 9. I don't not close. Like 9 out of 10. I would say I have a couple deals a year fall apart. Because I make sure that I'm having these conversations and these expectations and these conversations with my clients to get them into a secure position so they feel good in the transaction and good in the deal. And like showings with me, we're doing a mini home inspection. Like we're talking about everything. So that when I can present to that listing agent, hey, listen, we went through it all.
There's no questions. There's
no questions.
Doubts. You go.
I'm not
boom,
wasting
boom,
your
boom,
time,
boom.
and we're not wasting my time, and we're not
time.
wasting my client's time. And so that's what that skill set for 2 years from 2020 to 22 really has defined some of my expertise. So, but what I was kind of saying is like, as an agent, usually they're like, all right, be a listing agent. Yeah, it's great to be a listing agent. Absolutely. And it is something that maybe quote unquote is easier. And it's quote unquote probably easier if you're working a full-time job because you can list something and like, your intensity isn't as much.
And you're not doing too much of the running around, I'm assuming, right?
Right. Your
When
availability
you're
is more
buyer
virtual.
agent, you have to go show the houses.
Yeah.
I remember when I was getting the first house with my brother, I was working full-time and my brother was working full-time. My mother was the one going to see the houses, and my mom we didn't have that extra car. So our agent, she would come and pick her up,
do a whole thing.
Do the whole thing, bring her, they'll have lunch and come back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And of course, she's a very good family friend. a very good friend of my brother, and I said, wow,
Yeah.
like what agents have to go through,
Yeah.
and agents that care.
That's the thing. I mean, and I think every agent cares to some, right? Everybody has a different business model and business intentions, right? And real estate is something that can fit into any area of your life for whatever your purpose is. And I think like full circle, what we were talking about, like that's why, if you're going into the industry or you're evaluating your business right now, really define it. Like the world can't fill the blanks if you don't know what you want your business to look like and how much money you want to make and how to get there. Everybody wants to make six figures and just list houses, right? That's not how it works, right? So it's like, well, how are you going to get that? And like in my coaching, when I do coaching and do workshops, I talk about like, measuring your successes differently, measuring how many people you talk to about real estate. That's a closing. Like stop measuring closings. Like that's going to happen. Your results are going to happen. If you measure in your day-to-day of what you did daily for your business, that's going to turn into more leads, more business than you could ever imagine. And that's the reality of it. But you're right. We go above and beyond. And agents that I don't look at my business as like, okay, I have to have this many closings, I'm going to make this much money. I look at it for the exact reason why I got into a house, where like I believe in life transition, and I'm a life transition advocate for your needs. What right? Like, what do I need to do to serve the client? You're going through a divorce. You're going through a death. You're going through buying your first house. And any aspect of the transition is extremely emotionally intense and emotionally draining. And I, as a realtor, am the vessel for that to help you make sane decisions in a transient area of your life. And that's what I do. I'm in a relationship business that happens to be in the format of selling houses. I'm in a relationship business, relationship advocacy.
That is beautiful. Yeah, you don't know. You're coming across clients and you don't know what they're going through. And it's not until you start the process that you start finding out here and there what's going on really in their lives or what's the motor of buying. Sometimes I guess you come across investors and
everything.
all good.
Flipping, everything.
But wow, I admire you.
I admire you so much, always.
Now, this coaching, how the whole coaching idea, and now you execute it, because how long you been doing it now?
2 years. I mean, so basically, I sat, you sit down with your broker, you sit down with your business partner or whoever, right? For every year, I probably sit down with with Carl every 4 months, right? And we kind of evaluate the quarter, but we do have a meeting every, in January, and say, okay, this is what worked from last year, or maybe December, this is what worked from last year, this is what I'm going to do, this is where my goals are. And Carl asked me 2 years ago, well, what is your 10-year vision, LB? What do you want to do in 10 years? I said, I would love to speak all over the world, inspiring people in their purpose and passion of life.
You're going to be seeing you in TEDx.
Oh, let's go. The world will know, LB.
Yeah, it
and
will.
I believe that. And I want to help bring people's purpose, because my light is turned on in my business and in my life and in my potential and who I am. And I felt vacant and a void in my life until I understood what turned my light on. And I would love to make my life's mission in helping others recognize their light and helping them step into it.
That's beautiful.
And that's my 10-year goal.
Boom.
Boom. Boom. Let's go. Sign up here. No, just kidding. No, but so what I'm saying is like what I mean, and so what we're saying is like, okay, well, how does that look like, right? With a dream, you have to kind of throw on the wall and see what sticks. And I said, all right, why don't we just start in this arena, in the real estate arena? So, am I quote unquote coaching? I mean, I guess that would be that's a very broad term. I would say that my workshops are based in what we're talking about: motivation, inspiration, and evaluating the mindset of your industry. Because we can go to coaching all day and say, okay, call expireds, call this, talk to the person at the gas station, send your mailers. And that's an aspect, right? But if we're not in our head saying, at the end of the day, I'm the person that's laying my head and I'm the one that's saying, hey, you didn't produce anything in a year. You're pathetic. That's what my mind will tell me if I am not clear in my vision and in my mind. So my workshops that I do for the agency, right now they're a CGA exclusive, and I'm building them, and I'm going to build some formats and see where I can expand it into different environments.
What does CGA means?
Carl Guile and Associates.
Okay.
Sorry,
The broker.
They're exclusive to that, but I want to build off that because I think that it really is about our minds.
There's a lot of growth in this.
Yes,
and I think you can apply mindset. We can apply in any industry. And if you can
our
be
lives,
that motivational speaker
Yes.
for anybody who needs to have their light turn on. Why not?
Let's go.
Why not?
Because
every
that's,
time you and me talk, you
Yes.
get me going, man.
Let's
you get
go.
me going. And I come from selling cars to
Yes.
have a marketing firm, to now be the presenter for podcasts and this and that. And it's like, it's not impossible. I think that
yeah.
anything we want and desire in our hearts, we can make it happen if we truly want it.
We can.
Right?
And the barrier to bringing our heart out into reality is our mind. And the fact that we say, and we limit ourselves and our potential like that naturally. And it takes a massive amount of work, right? And other reflection systems, like other people, like me and you inspire each other. Every time we get together, we see the world in front of us, right? Every time. We've always been like that for many years. And so associating with people like that, breathing with people like that, that's what it's about. And if that's not what your support system looks like, or that's not what your mind looks like, then that needs work. Because we can give you all the tools in the entire world, but if you don't know how, if you're kind of challenge yourself internally, then it's never going to produce anything and you're going to give up. And the other aspect of it is if I can go to this deep place in who I am and I can say, okay, yeah, I'm sad about this, I grieve about this, I'm happy about this, this is where I fall short, then when I'm sitting with a client, I can relate and empathize with where they're falling short and where they feel sad.
Because you did your job internally.
Yes.
You master it.
Yes.
And you can hear, listen to others, and be
carry-
able
and
and
carry
be
them
able
to
to
the
make
other
them
side.
move forward.
That's
All right. It's crazy how time goes by so quick, man. And I feel
know.
like we just started talking.
We got to do a couple more of these.
Oh, we gotta get you back for
listen,
episode series 2.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up,
Yes.
you being a mother
Yes.
of 2, the powerhouse that you have in you, being in the same broken agency for 8 years.
Yeah.
What would be an advice that you could tell anyone who's going to be listening to this podcast?
Yeah.
Not just in real estate, but about life. Because you're a very spiritual person. And I have the honor to have a friend like her. And I'm so blessed to have somebody like her in my life. But I think obviously we have a soul. And there's a lot of lost souls out there. People that probably feel confused. What job to take, what career to take. And at some point in our lives, we were those souls, right? And you worked on you, I worked on me, and kind of life put it back together. But I want you to give that one advice.
Yeah.
If you could say something and leave this room today, what would that be for people that are listening to you or that will be listening to this podcast?
Yeah. I think it's important to recognize that life is hard. I don't think we really talk about that life is challenging. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we think like, okay, well, when I get here, life is going to give up or life is going to exhale. And I think what I've learned is it is such an ebb and flow. And it is such a, you have to pivot, you have to adapt. Life is going to throw something at you, the challenges, the blessings, right? And that we don't take those things to heart like we could have done something differently. Life is life. And being around people that understand that and love you there, no matter what your life looks like, is so important. And I think as far as dreams, goals, and visions and happiness, no matter where you're at in life, it starts with you. And we think these other things like business and money and all this stuff is going to bring that to us or give us stability or consistency. But at the end of the day, from the lowest arenas that I've been, from homeless to where I am today, it has always been me in the mirror. And so if I can't sit there and talk with that person that's in the mirror and say, okay, listen, I love you anyway. Listen, this is where we're falling short, or this is where I need to pivot or cut or change. That person's going to show up in any level of my life. And I can tell you on the higher levels of life, if they're quote unquote higher, they're more complicated and the risk is a lot more. So I'm grateful that I've been able to look at myself every single step of the way and cut what needs to be cut and give myself forgiveness and grace. Like we're all struggling.
Yes.
I don't care where you come from, who you are, how much money you have, how many kids you have, how many people, how many marriages, how many divorces, how many deaths. We're all struggling. Life is hard. But at the end of the day, like we can be whoever we want to be. But some things have to give. The expectations of who we think we need to be needs to go. I am so grateful that I let go of who I thought I needed to be, because I have never been more in my authentic version than I am today. I am who I am. Not who society wants me to be, not who the ex wants me to be, not who the realtor is. I am LB living my life, and it is nothing like I thought it was going to look like, but it's mine.
Empire.
LB Empire. Woo! But I love you very deeply, and I look forward to continuing these podcasts and continuing to have these conversations.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking, I know you have a busy schedule,
So do you.
Very busy schedule. Thank you for coming here to Five Stars Realty podcast.
Yes.
Looking to have you more times.
Yes.
Now, real quick, before we go,
Yes.
tell our audience, where can they find you?
Oh,
what are
yes.
your socials, real quick?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm Laura Beth Collinson. My tag name is kind of LB, Integrity in Real Estate. My phone number is 860-262-2753. Laura Beth Realty at gmail.com. I'm with Carl Gilden Associates, but my social media, Laura Beth sells houses. I do about 65 to 75 transactions a year myself, just me. That's me. Buy and sell, and I will, I'll do it all.
Just 70,
Yeah, but I do it all. And I love what I do, and I'm here to support, and you know what I mean. And I have all the resources.
Guillermo said, "Who can you bring
Yes.
to this room that will light up the freaking podcast?" I said, "I got you, my girl LB." Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you guys for tuning in one more time, and see you in the next episode.
Bye. Thank you.